Hello and welcome to our video about economics versus the environment. This one is about food quality. There are two related issues about food quality. They both focus on the idea that it's important that the food you eat is high quality and has good nutrition for your body and your health. Most countries have a government department that checks out food before it can be sold to make sure that it will not hurt anyone who eats it. In the USA, this agency is called the FDA, or Federal Drugs Authority. The EPA, or Environmental Protection Agency, is also involved. The first issue is about the effect of chemical fertilizers and weed killers and pesticides on the human body. Many people believe that the chemicals or the medicine used to kill insects and for fertilizer is dangerous to our health, especially if we eat a lot of it. There are two ways the chemicals work. The first is by spraying the chemical on the leaves. The chemical then kills the bugs or the weeds from the outside. This kind is not so bad. If you wash the plant before you eat it, you can sometimes remove the chemical. The makers add things to the chemicals to stop them washing off the leaves when it rains. And that can also mean it's hard to wash it off before you eat it. Also with fruit, if you remove the skin on the outside of the fruit, like with an orange or a banana, the chemical will go too. The second way is much more dangerous for us. The chemical is taken into the plant through the roots and moves around the plant with the sap. It feeds the plant or kills the bugs or weeds from inside of the plant. It makes the leaves poisonous to bugs. You can wash this kind of plant as long as you want, but it will not remove the chemical. And just a vocab note, sap is the watery or milky liquid that moves around inside a plant, a bit like blood, to take nutrients and chemicals to different parts of the plant. The rubber liquid from rubber trees is sap. So here on the left we have the sprayed on version. The chemical is sprayed on the leaf and it stays on the outside. It can be washed off before you eat it. Bugs die by touching the leaf. The second way on the right, the chemical enters the leaf from the branch using the veins in the leaf. It's inside the leaf. If you wash it, the chemical is still there. And bugs die if they eat the leaf. The first issue is about the effect of chemical fertilizers and weed killers and pesticides on the human body. There's also a problem with deciding how much is okay. And this is because the chemical often stays in your body. It does not leave your body when you go to the toilet. So if you ate a banana every day for 1 week, at the end of the week, you would have 7 times the amount of chemical from one banana in your body. So even if each banana only has a small amount, it can soon get to a dangerous amount in your body. So a little bit here about organic food. So to stop taking these risks with their health, some people eat only organic foods. Organic means it is grown with only natural fertilizer like compost, and no chemicals are used for controlling pests or weeds. Organic foods are a little bit more expensive than normal foods, and so poor people often can't afford them. In some regions, there's also a lack of supply. Farmers don't grow organic food, so there's none to buy. For the farmers, the attraction of growing organic food is, firstly, you get more money for it. Secondly, you don't need to buy expensive fertilizers and pesticides. You are not handling dangerous chemicals in your work, which is better for your own health. And if you eat the same food that you grow, your body will be healthier. Organic is very close to traditional farming. So we need to ask the question, if organic is so much better, why did farmers ever change to using chemicals? And the answer is the makers of the chemicals spent a lot of money persuading farmers their way was better. They promised better yields, that is, more corn or more beans from the same piece of land, and therefore more money for the farmers. They persuaded the FDA and the EPA that the corn or beans was the same as the corn or beans grown the other way. Some of these claims were true, at least for a few years, but as time went on, a few things changed that. The pests and insects became resistant to the chemicals, so the farmer had to use more chemicals. The extra cost wiped out any extra money he got from bigger yields. The same happened with fertilizer. Using chemicals instead of compost also kills the good insects that live in the soil. Compost not only acts as a fertilizer, but it also increases the ability of the soil to hold water. The result was that the quality of the soil went down. Finally, after farmers had moved to the new ways for a few years, the chemical companies increased the price of the chemicals. So any extra money from the bigger yield went to the chemical companies and not to the farmers. In India, there is a major problem of farmers who commit suicide because they have got into an impossible situation after changing to using chemicals and they cannot feed their families anymore. The second big issue relates to GMO plants. GMO stands for genetically modified organism. Organism just means a living thing, modified means changed. So genetically modified means the DNA, which controls the genetic makeup of the plant, the genes, has been changed. Scientists cut some things out of the DNA and maybe add other things from the DNA belonging to other plants. The aim is to make the plant better. This might be to grow more corn or beans, or it might be the plant is less likely to get disease or to be less attractive to bad insects. The biggest thing about GMO plants is you can't grow new plants from the seed of the old plant. And this is very important. It means the farmer has to buy new seed every year. He cannot use seed saved from last year's crop. The seed sellers and the GMO plant sellers love this. It guarantees them income or money in every year. They can keep the price the farmers have to pay high because they can't grow anything without the seeds. There are two main producers of GMO seeds and plants in the world, called DuPont and Monsanto. Together, they produce 75% of all the world's GMO plants. Monsanto is a USA-based multinational corporation. It's also the producer of the world's top-selling chemical to stop weeds growing, called Roundup. If you spray weeds with it, they die. In the past, you had to be very careful not to spray the plant you wanted to grow with Roundup, or that plant would die too. So if you were growing Morning Glory and you wanted to kill the weeds around the plant, you had to be sure that none of the chemical got on the Morning Glory. Then Monsanto got clever. They genetically modified some food plants so that they would not die if you sprayed them with Roundup. Now you don't have to be careful anymore. You can just spray all the area with Roundup and everything will die except the GMO food plant. Magic. So what's the problem? Before GMO plants could be sold to farmers, Monsanto had to go to the FDA and the EPA because it's their job to make sure that anything sold for people to eat is safe. Monsanto told them that there was no difference when you eat GMO food compared with eating non-GMO food. So GMO corn would have the same effect on your health as non-GMO. Normal corn was safe. So when Monsanto said their GMO corn was the same, the FDA said it was okay to sell it. They didn't even test it. In Canada, The Canadian Food Inspection Agency approved sale of Monsanto GMOs, but again, they did not do any testing themselves. They only looked at the information that was given them by Monsanto. So safe or not safe? More recently, Japanese scientists have carried out the tests that the USA and Canadian governments should have done. And they have found that the plants are not the same, even though Monsanto said they were. What has happened since is that people have found that GMO and non-GMO are different, especially where the plant has been sprayed with Roundup. Roundup is known to cause cancer in some situations. Glyphosate, which is the active ingredient in Roundup, is currently approved in the European Community until December 2033. And this is the end, my friend. See you next time.